Hello everybody, Dave here for the next episode of Dave Gets Wood, and as you can tell I'm in a different room. Now reason for that is because I'm going to measure the bits that I need to measure, but I basically want to show you, because I've been talking for quite some time about the underside of the table, so I want to show you what needs to, or what the condition of the underside of the table is and what I need to do, so you've got an idea. I'm also hoping that today I will measure the bits that I need to. Okay, so I will flip the camera around in a sec and we can have a look at this. Okay, you're going to have to excuse any dodgy camera work or anything that's out of focus. Also, I've got a lot of lights going on over the back here just to try and light up the room a bit, which, considering that I've got a ceiling light aiming over here, a torch over here and another lamp over here, it's still not very bright. Okay, first of all, you can see what the colour of the table was like originally, or before I got it. So you can see that I don't want to go to this level of darkness, but the golden that I've got at the moment is what I'm interested in. Now, a couple of things with this table is I'm pretty sure it had extensions. Otherwise, what's the point of these holes and these? Because it's not like these hold the legs in place or anything like that. So I've no idea what they're for. They're not there to keep the table together, because it barely crosses one panel. So yeah, bit odd, but I do think that the table potentially had extensions. Okay, right, one thing that I want to point out, if I can, you'll notice that there is quite a lot of damage, for example in this corner and in this corner. Alright, so that's something I'm going to need to sort out. This isn't damaged, this is where I previously stripped, so the up there has been done. Right, you see here though, this has got a nasty crack, and this is actually one part that made me decide what I'm going to do with a lot of the table. Right, this piece of trim, from what I can gather, has no purpose whatsoever. It doesn't have any structural purpose. It's not keeping the table together, that I know of. So yeah, now this, I could try gluing that down, but it's split too much, and it's been split for so long that I think the best thing to do with it, originally I thought I'll replace this trim, and then I thought, well, you know what, if this trim has no structural purpose, then we're going to just fuck it off completely. So that's one of the things that I'm going to want to be looking at some point, is taking off this trim, finding out if it is structural, which it isn't, I'm pretty sure, and then getting rid of it. Saves me fucking about stripping all this wood down, or taking the time to replace it. Okay, so that's one thing that I'm going to need to do, is take that off because of this crack here. And to be honest, where the legs go, it doesn't even touch up to this. Okay, so that's one thing that I've got. With these here, because as far as I can tell, they also don't have any structural effect on the table, they're going to come off as well, and they're not going to be replaced. They don't need to be, that I know of. These are the most important pieces that I've been talking about, the bits that attach to the legs. And as you can see, people have basically put the leg in here, put the bolts through there, and then screwed it, and instead of making sure that the leg was all the way in, they've left a gap, and then this piece of wood has gone this way towards the leg and split it on that one, and that one, and that one, and that one. So on all, oh no, you know, there's one that's not broken. So that's on all of them. Now, interestingly, looking at this, And the grain is going sort of that way, isn't it? Which is the way that I was going to do it. But I know that that's been treated wrong. Now, one of the reasons why I said I believe that this table has been through a repair before is because if we look here, for example, we have a shoddy attempted glue repair, which I'm going to need to sort out, but we'll come to that in a moment. So there is quite a bit of damage in a fair few places. Actually, I won't go that way around, otherwise the lights will blind us. Okay, any marks or scuffs that are on the table I'm not worried about because I can deal with them anyway. But if we look over here, you can see that clearly this piece of wood is not in its original position, so that has been taken off and been replaced, probably when this was attempted to be repaired as well, because there's glue all in this, and they've got it a bit wrong. So as we go along, you see it's not too bad there, but again in that corner's bad. This piece of wood, again, that's split, so that needs dealing with, and yeah, going to be a bit awkward. Now, I had also mentioned about how I'm going to have to methodically sort of take this apart. Well, I do need to, because obviously these pieces of wood need to fit exactly where they need to go. So yeah, it's a little awkward, but also, as I said, the screws with washers here. A lot of the other screws don't have washers, but again, if we look here, sorry, there's a big gap between this and this, so they're not positioned correctly and this isn't positioned correctly. So yeah, there's quite a bit of work that's going to need doing on it. Now, one thing that I could do, if we look at, okay, this piece of wood and this piece of wood, one thing I could do is try and get a replacement piece of wood, which I could then basically put in here. Now I could do that, but it would mean getting this cut absolutely perfect to go with the pieces of wood to go with the legs, because the legs need to butt up to that and butt up to that, otherwise they're not going to do their job properly. So it becomes a very precise thing. So I could replace this piece of wood and the one on the other end that's got the crack, or I could take it off, repair this crack properly, so clean it out, get it all fixed up properly, get it all stripped down, cleaned up and remade. Same with that end, use the same piece of wood that's there already that hopefully goes in the same holes, but yeah, hopefully in a much better way. So as you can see, there's quite a lot to do to the underside of the table, and as I've been kind of hinting at, if I get it wrong, then wood's going to be moving all over the place and potentially breaking, or the legs won't fit properly. So this is why it is very important to get the measurements of these blocks of wood right, because I think the reason that these end bits of wood had split is probably from when someone's tried tightening the legs up and done it wrong, because it's happened enough times, and the pieces of wood that the legs attached to are also screwed into the end pieces. So once that piece of wood is bent and broken and doesn't really want to go anymore because the screws are holding it, what's it going to do? The whole thing's going to pull, and then that's potentially where it's split, which it is pretty much. There's where a screw goes in, the line goes straight across it. So yeah, Now this is where also I've said that I could, if I wanted, say right, fuck it, I'm not going to bother taking any of it apart, and we'll just bolt the legs in. But I'd still need to strip the fucking thing down, and given all of the different angles and the pieces, and yeah, it would be harder, I think, to strip it down and refinish it in its current situation than it would be to strip off this outer ring, get rid of that, measure up the new pieces, get them drilled out and dealt with, strip all the rest of the wood off of it and deal with them individually, where I can strip every part of it, clean up every part of it, and then varnish every part of it. And if bits need repairs, I can repair those parts. So yeah, you can perhaps understand now why I've been going on recently about how I've been having to think about what I'm going to be doing and how I'm going to approach this, because it's not just as simple as, I'll take it apart and put it back together. It's not like that at all. So yeah, now what I've also got, pull it out of my arse, is, for example, I've got this piece of wood here, right, and this piece of wood is hopefully what I'm going to use as a replacement piece for the corners. Now, couple of reasons. One, it's fairly straight. It's got a little bit of curvature on it, but I don't mind that. Because it's already curved a bit, it means I'm not going to be curving it, if that makes any sense. But also the thickness is just about exactly the right thickness that I need. I mean, it's like maybe a millimetre, but I don't mind that. I'd rather have that extra millimetre of thickness. So what I would need to decide is, as I mentioned before, whether I'm going to, for example, cut across there and there and have my holes there and there like that, well, you can see it too well, or whether I am going to use, for example, the edge, I'll do it here, and so it's more like that. So I need to work out which orientation I want for those cuts. So yeah, also another reason why I picked this piece of wood is because it does have a nice pattern on it. So even though it's not going to get seen, it is a nice pattern on there. And a big difference again from how the table looks now to the colour I'm making it. The colour I'm making it is really going to bring out those patterns, whereas this, as you've seen, it just looks like a very dark, dull finish. And to be fair, it's not a good finish either. But I say it's good, solid wood, the table surface itself, and that's sort of the main thing that I liked about it. Right. What I need to do now then is measure up, so I might as well do that now. So I'll do is move the camera. Okay. Now, I'm not going to use a tape measure for measuring this because there's too much room for error. So I'm going with a metal ruler which takes its measurement from the very end of the ruler. Okay, and that's another reason why I'm using this. So let's see what we've got. It looks like 17.5 centimetres. No, a bit bigger. Actually, no, 17.5. Right. So 17.5 centimetres. .63 centimetres depth. Let's just check that on. Is that the same one there? not 63. Oh, hang on. It is. There was just a piece of wood there. Yeah, 63. Okay. 63. Not 63, 63 millimetres. And that was 175 millimetres. We'll do it that way. Right, so that's that one measured. Fantastic. But are the others the same size? Well, that's what we need to check. Oh. Also, what I'm doing is I'm measuring from this piece of wood to this piece of wood. So I'm measuring the gap, not from the edge of this piece of wood to the edge here. Reason being, this piece of wood is broken, and because of that, it's going to be 1 millimetre out. So this is where, again, I mean, I've got 175 millimetres on there. To be honest, I'd probably look at cutting it at 176 or 177, just so that I know it would be a tight fit, and I could shave a bit off, unless I can get it absolutely perfect. Interesting. See, that's weird. That one, that gap's bigger because this piece of wood is moved over. And that's got a lot of horrible. I don't think that's an original piece of wood. I don't think that's an original piece in this, because it's got a really bad finish on the stain. I reckon someone's put a piece in there that's too big, and that's why all of this has moved over. Right, okay, we'll come back to that. I'm just going to move off camera a second while I measure this one over here. And so that is 177. Let's just remeasure this and make sure we did not doing it from. I was sitting down when I did it, so okay. .176, sort of 177. Okay, let's change that to a 177. That one is still longer. That's at 180. Right, let's see what this one is on this corner. So this one isn't broken, but it is buckled a little bit. But I could leave that one in. See, that's 176. Yeah. So we got. It's interesting. Oh, let's move this a second. Right, so we have. Dodgy camera, fucking one. Okay, so we've got one that doesn't need fixing. I'm gonna be alright. Having said that, maybe it'd be easier. Stand up, you know, bed. Yeah, so there's one that could go without being replaced, but I suppose you could say if I'm going to make the effort in replacing the other three, then I might as well replace that one as well. So probably, yeah, I will. Right, so that I showed is out of position. I mean, that there's what, 3mm maybe. Now I've measured the rest of these corners at sort of 176, 177, and this one was 180. So this fucker's out of line, either because this piece of wood is too big, which is what I think it is. Someone's gone for replacing it, made it too big, and instead of trimming it down, they've basically just fucking drilled new holes for that bigger piece of wood, which now creates a bit of a fucking problem for me, in a way. In that, where the wood is screwed to the table, there's now going to be potentially a couple of holes. I mean, this is interesting, annoyingly, because I'm not going to be taking this apart today. I'm not going to find out today. But I would be interested to know if, when I take that piece of wood off, there are 2 screw holes, which backs up what I'm thinking. But anyway, so yeah, so I may have a situation where the screw holes that are currently in use are of no good to me, because it will pull the... There's no point me having a piece 177 long if the gap's 180, but at the same time there's no point having a gap of 180 if it's meant to be 177, because if it's 180, that could also be, I mean, looking at it, well, I'm only speculating, but looking at it, someone has tried bolting the leg on, done it incorrectly, broken the bit that the leg bolts to, then replaced that piece of wood with another piece of wood, but got it too big, and then when they've gone to put the leg in again, not only have they broke the piece of wood, but they've also then broke the piece of wood that it's attached to, because it's not the right size. Well, I guess this is part of what I was, part of my mantra. Bring things back to life. It's frustrating, but at the same time, it'll be good to get it done. But I'm also nervous in case I fuck it up, in case I get it completely wrong. I mean, that's always a concern. It's definitely a concern. Anyway, right. I will remeasure those. Before it comes to the point of drawing them up. Now I know that on this video there's not been a lot of sort of productivity, but that's not really what this particular video was about. It was about showing you the tabletop, getting the bits measured up that I needed, and also for me getting the table cleared, ready for me to start taking it apart, because the legs are now at the point of they're ready for the clear varnish, and I don't think it will take many coats, so I need to be ready to move on to the next stage, of which, yes, I want to get the support pieces done, but I can't cut them here. I need to go to the parents to get them cut, so that I can get them cut precisely, before I can then drill the holes out and yeah, before I could drill the holes out and get them treated and varnished and all that lot. And although they're only small pieces, they're still going to need quite a few coats. Right, anyway, that's me done for this one. Waffled a lot. So on the next video, hopefully we'll be applying those clear coats to the legs, and we can crack on and get closer to finishing the table. Well, have a good one. See you in a bit.